Hey, Joe here from Home Studio Corner. In the last video, I showed you a quick overview of how I use Melodyne Essential, which comes free in Studio One Professional. In this video, I want to go the other direction and show you a more advanced thing that I did. Not super advanced, honestly, but just here's the story. So I was producing this song for my friend Frankie, and she said, hey, this intro would be great if it had some sort of a cool vocal effect. And she sent me some references of different songs, and what I heard on those songs was a vocoder type sound. It sounded like a vocal being sung through a keyboard, if that makes sense. And I didn't have a vocoder plugin, and I was doing this project essentially as a barter for some. Anyway, so I didn't have a budget to go buy a plugin. I didn't really feel like buying one anyway. And I thought, how can I make this work using the tools that I have? That's kind of a favorite pastime of mine. Can I make it work using the tools that I have without having to get something new? So here's what I did. First, let me play you the original vocal here.
Tonight is when I needed you, 'cause you're the only one who knows.
So it's already, obviously, a beautiful vocal, but she wanted something kind of vocoder-y. So let me show you what I did. Let's use that third line here.
I needed
No, right here.
only one who knows.
So here's what I did. I copied the lead vocal and pasted it to a new track. Well, actually, the very first thing I did was I tuned the vocal like I normally would, which I showed in the last video. I go find if there are any notes that are out of place. I tweak them and get them closer to in pitch. Frankie honestly doesn't need much of that at all, but I did that to the first one. So then the second vocal, so just so we're clear, every vocal you see, all these purple tracks are the exact same vocal part. I copied it and pasted it to a new track. And actually had it render to a new audio file so that I could tune each of these differently. You probably see where this is going. So the first one, I pulled in auto-tune, and what I'm going to do here is I've used the render feature inside of Studio One back when I did this, so I'm going to unrender them to show you, but you can render it, so it kind of frees up processing. So here's what I did to the very first vocal. I went in and I just tuned it. Come on. Yes, I know you want me to go to the website and do something. I don't quite understand why. And the idea here was just to tune it, to do a very hard tuning on the first vocal. Not to change the notes at all, just to hard tune the vocal so that it blends with the original vocal and creates kind of a phasey sort of sound. So here's what that sounded like. Oh, stop.
Only one who knows.
So it just gives it, I swear, if you come up one more time, it gives it
Only one who knows.
kind of that phasey sort of sound. So one way to just make a cool vocal, if you don't want to put a chorus plugin on it, which is kind of the same thing, you could duplicate the vocal and then hard tune the second one and leave the first one a little looser, and it'll create these pitch differences that cause phase problems. Normally phase problems are actually problems, but sometimes it can be a cool effect. It'll thin the vocal out a little bit, and that sometimes can be very cool. So I don't know if this showing you the actual Melodyne file is going to make this work super well, because it seems to be mad at me when I try to do it. So I'm going to actually just talk you through it without showing it in Melodyne because, well, let me show you. Let me show you this part first, and then you can kind of understand what I did. So the rest of the parts, I tuned them to different notes. So I would go in and I would first do the hard tuning. Let me just solo this one by itself so you can hear it.
Only one who knows.
So there's a little bit of chorusing on the bus for that. That's what you're hearing too, a little bit of extra chorusing there. But I would take this vocal, I would hard tune it like we talked about in the last video, 100% both pitch and drift. And then I would take those notes, so here's what they sound like.
Only one who knows.
And I would change each of the notes. See, if you select one and just press up and down.
Only one.
No, I lied. If you just select it and drag it, maybe it's shift. It's command. Command up and down will move it to a different note.
Only one.
So if we wanted to maybe let's take all of these notes and move them up.
Only one who knows.
And then I literally would just sit and kind of come up with interesting harmonies.
No, only one who knows. No, only one who knows.
And then I would play it against the original.
Only one who knows.
So that's a little too dissonant, but you get the idea. I was going through and just creating new harmonies from the original. Now the question would be, okay, Joe, why not just go in and have her sing it? Because I didn't want a background vocal like harmony thing. You guys are killing me. All my software is just yelling at me today. Stop. Go away. I didn't want background vocals. That's a cool thing, and I've done that a bajillion times, and the tracks are also colored purple. But this time I wanted something, if you use the exact same vocal, there'll be any changes you make pitch-wise to any of them will cause this weird, thin phasiness, and that's kind of what makes for a vocoder sound. Does that make sense? It's the same exact vocal versus her singing it 6 different times. That's not bad, having her sing it 6 different times, but that's not the sound that I wanted. So let me just slowly introduce to you each of the parts. So I went through and I just kept tuning them to create some normal harmonies and then to create some dissonant harmonies that worked with the song. And I'll just let it play through and I'll introduce each harmony as we go. And let's even loop it to make this even more fun. Here we go.
Only one who knows, 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 only one who knows.
Suddenly, I've turned Frankie into a robot. Just for fun, if you want to hear what each one sounds like.
Only one who knows.
Super creepy.
Only one who knows.
So none of them sound natural. They sound super weird, and there's lots of artifacts there. That's cool. That's exactly what I wanted. We're changing the pitch like crazy.
Only one who knows.
She kind of sounds like a dude there.
Only one who knows.
Definitely sounds like a dude there. So here are all the tuned parts by themselves.
Only one who knows.
So they've got the weird effectiness. There's actually some added chorus on it as well, reverb and all that. Then add in the dry vocal.
Only one who knows.
And it's just really, really cool. So we did this for the intro to the song, which was essentially verse and maybe chorus before all the other instruments come in, and we never do it again in the songs. It's one of those things you could easily overdo it. Wasn't going for like a Daft Punk thing where it's a vocoder the entire song, which can be cool. This is more of a singer-songwriter Americana thing. I wanted a cool section, and it's what Frankie wanted, just the first part of the song where it's very, very sparse, and then as the song builds, it's just her vocal, and there's more background vocals and stuff that come in at the end. As you can imagine, this took a little bit of time. If you have a vocoder and you're a keyboard player and you can play those parts in and make it happen in 5 minutes, great. Kudos to you. I didn't have those available. I was willing to spend the time to go and slog through this each section by section, each phrase by phrase. But to me, after a couple hours of messing with it a lot, it turned into something really cool and special. One of my favorite moments on the entire EP is this part. So, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. All right, so that's it for me. If you want to learn more about production like this, if you haven't checked out my Understanding Production course, you can find that at understandingproduction.com or homestudiocorner.com/understanding-production. It's a great course. I use a lot of Frankie's songs, a lot of my own music, and some others as examples of ways to get really interesting and engaging music through simple production techniques. And just so you know, while that was involved and fun, this is actually the entire session looks like this. There's a lot going on, and I will let you hear the first chunk of the song with that vocoder in context of the whole mix as your outro music for today. How does that sound? Sound good? Awesome. See you later.
Tonight is when I needed you, 'cause you're the only one who knows the way I tick and crumble.